Good morning and welcome to Rose Red Homestead. We are so glad to have you along with today's adventure, which is all about level 1 food storage. We are always on the lookout for great recipes that use ingredients from our level 1 food storage so that we can have our targeted 60 days worth of meals, either frozen meals complete or ingredients to make meals for 60 days of emergency need. And so today's recipe is going to be a delicious pumpkin bread with a twist, and that twist is it's going to have a cheesecake filling in the middle. And so this is pumpkin cheesecake bread. The ingredients are out of our level 1, and for those that are not familiar with how we do our food storage, we have 3 levels. Level 1 is for basically immediate use, and that is the integration of ingredients that are in our refrigerator, freezer, and pantry. Then level 2 is from a year to 2 years of storage life, and then 3 years to 30 years constitutes level 3, and they feed into each other, obviously. Today's recipe comes from an online outfit known as Delish. Many of you are familiar with that. I will put the link to the recipe right below the description of this video. Now there are a couple of, they've made a mistake and one error in the recipe, and I'll correct that. Plus, the filling, the cheesecake filling, didn't quite have the oomph that I like, so I have changed that a little bit, and I will put my version of the filling down below so that you can have that. And let's get started. So into this larger bowl, we are going to put the dry ingredients, and that is 1 cup of flour, and then for pumpkin pie spice, which is right here, it is 1 tablespoon of pumpkin pie spice. One teaspoon of baking soda. And a half a teaspoon of baking powder. Now I'm just about out of baking powder in this can, and so Jim brought this can in from our food storage from 2017. And so I just tested it by putting a teaspoon in a small bowl of very hot water to see if it would fizz. It fizzed away just fine. So I'm just going to use the last of what is in here, and I actually may have enough. Where's my half of a teaspoon? No, not quite. So I'm going to fill it up, and we're good to go there. And then for salt, it is just 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt. And then we just whisk these together. Smells great. Then in this bowl, we're going to put the wet ingredients, and those wet ingredients are 1 cup of sugar, which isn't wet, but this is how the recipe wants us to organize it. Goes in. The melted butter, which is 1/2 cup. 1 cup of pumpkin puree. Now this pumpkin puree is, we have a lot of pumpkin on our shelves because Jim hit a sale about a year ago and brought home, I don't know, honey, 150 cans. It just
Maybe
seems
it was 300.
Oh, it was a whole lot of canned pumpkin.
It takes up 4 shelves.
So we have plenty of canned pumpkin.
Yeah, we have enough for this.
Now, in terms of the butter, I use ghee. Ghee is many of you know we have done videos on ghee, and I use it all the time. It is made from real butter. It just removes the milk solids so that the ghee acts like butter, tastes like butter, looks like butter, does not have the milk solids in it, and it is shelf stable, which makes it lovely, lovely, lovely. Then we need 1/4 of a cup of sour cream. Now the recipe forgot to put in the cup measurement. So they just have 1/4 sour cream, but just know that it is 1/4 of a cup. So you may want to make that change when you print off the recipe. Okay, so in goes the sour cream. And then the recipe calls for, to go in here, 1 egg plus 1 yolk. Now, because eggs are so darned expensive these days, I'm not going to use that extra yolk. You can certainly do that if you wish. This is also a case where I could use my freeze-dried egg powder, and then I could account for that extra yolk just by putting in some extra powder. But we're just going to put in 1 egg right there. All right, the last ingredient with the wet ingredients is a teaspoon of vanilla. And now we mix these together. And we now mix the wet in with the dry. And we mix these together. It's nice to have different ways of mixing ingredients together. Now that I have them almost all together, I'm going to use the Danish whip again. Well, now we're going to jazz up this cheesecake filling just a little bit. So we're going to start with 2 tablespoons of flour, and I believe that that's the same as the recipe. I have 6 ounces of cream cheese that has softened in here, so that's the same as the recipe. But now the rest of the stuff is a little bit different. Well, no, the 1 egg is the same as the recipe. But now I'm going to do some extra additions. I have the zest from 1 orange in there. I'm going to add a teaspoon of vanilla. Even though there was vanilla in the regular batter, I still want a little bit more. And then I'm going to add 1/4 of a cup of sugar instead of what is called for. Okay. Now, give me a second, let me clear the deck, and I'll be right back. I'm going to mash these things together. There's our oven ready. Okay, now we're going to switch over and use our, it'll be better, and it is. Okay, now if we haven't messed it up too much, this should work and not be absorbed into the batter. But we're going to take about, let me just rinse this. So we're going to take about half the batter and put it in the pan. And even it out. Then we're going to take our cheesecake and just dollop it right through here. And then we're going to very carefully put dough across the top. Okay, so it hasn't quite closed, but I think it will as the dough sort of softens and spreads. So now we're going to go ahead and put that in a 350 oven and bake it for about an hour until it is done. So we will be back when it's ready to come out of the oven. So this was in the oven for about 55 minutes, and then it has cooled for about a half an hour. Now, when I turned it out of the pan about 5 minutes after we removed it from the oven, not all of it came out. There's a little section back here that turned loose, and I'm holding it in place with toothpicks, so maybe as it cools further it will sort of stick to the original, but it's not bad at all. The one thing about this is that it freezes beautifully, and so I can make multiple loaves of this bread and have it in the freezer ready to take out at a moment's notice. So let's take a look at how it looks on the inside. Okay, so isn't that pretty? With this little line of the cheesecake filling, it's beautiful. So let's taste it to see how it tastes. Come up here so that we can get into that filling just a little bit. It's absolutely wonderful. I'm going to dig a little of the filling out to see. Oh, much, much better. The orange zest really gives it a little bit of zing, and I really like that. This is perfect any time of the year, even though it's made for pumpkin, which is usually reserved for fall. We're still in the middle of winter here, sometimes with cold and snowy days and sometimes with warmer days, but this fits regardless of what's going on with the weather. So this recipe is a great addition to our Level 1 food storage collection of recipes. I hope you try it and that you enjoy it as much as we are. So Jim is going to help me eat the rest of this, and we will see you again very soon for more videos.